Book 4, Part 3 of Ovid's Metamorphoses. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by David Goldfarb. Metamorphoses, by Publius Ovidius Naso. Translated by Brooks Moore. Book 4, Part 3. Throughout the land of Thebes, miraculous the power of Bacchus waxed, and far and wide Ino his aunt reported the great deeds by this divinity performed. Of all her sisters only she escaped unharmed when fate destroyed them, and she knew not grief, only for sorrow of her sister's woes. While Ino vaunted of her mother joys, and of her kingly husband Athamas, and of the mighty god her foster child, Juno, disdaining her in secret, said, "How shall the offspring of a concubine transform Maeonian mariners, overwhelm them in the ocean, sacrifice a son to his deluded mother, who insane tears out his entrails? How shall he invent wings for 3 daughters of King Minyas, while Juno unavenged bewails despite? Is it the end, the utmost of my power? His deeds instruct the way, true wisdom heeds an enemy's device. By the strange death of Pentheus all that madness could perform was well revealed to all. What then denies a frenzy may unravel Ino's course to such a fate as wrought her sister's woe? A shelving path, in shadows of sad yew, through utter silence to the deep descends, infernal, where the languid Styx exhales vapours, and there the shadows of the dead descend, after they leave their sacred urns and ghostly forms invade, and far and wide those dreary regions horror and bleak cold obtain. The ghosts arrived not know the way which leadeth to the Stygian city gates, not know the melancholy palace where the swarthy Pluto stays, though streets and ways 1,000 to that city lead, and gates outswing from every side. And as the sea, with never-seen increase, engulfs the streams unnumbered of the world, that realm enfolds the souls of men, nor ever is it filled. Around the shadowy spirits go, bloodless, boneless, and bodiless. They throng the place of judgment, or they haunt the mansion where abides the utmost tyrant, or they tend to various callings as their whilome way. Appropriate punishment confines to pain the multitude condemned. To this abode, impelled by rage and hate, from habitation celestial, Juno of Saturn born descends, submissive to its dreadful element. No sooner had she entered the sad gates than groans were uttered by the threshold, pressed by her immortal form, and Cerberus, upraising his 3-visaged mouths, gave vent to triple barking howls. She called to her the sisters, night begot, implacable terrific furies. They did sit before the prison portals, adamant confined, combing black vipers from their horrid hair. When her amid the night surrounding shades they recognized, those deities uprose. O dread confines, dark seat of wretched vice! Where, stretched athwart 9 acres, Tityus, must thou endure thine entrails to be torn. O Tantalus, thou canst not touch the wave, and from thy clutch the hanging branches rise. O Sisyphus, thou canst not stay the stone, catching or pushing, it must fall again. O thou Ixion, whirled around, thyself must follow to escape thyself. And O Belides, plotter of sad death upon thy cousins, thou art always doomed to dip forever ever-spilling waves. When that the daughter of Saturnus fixed a stern look on those wretches, first her glance rested on Ixion, but the next on Sisyphus, and thus the goddess spoke. For why should he alone of all his kin suffer eternal doom, while Athamas, luxurious in a sumptuous palace, reigns, and, haughty with his wife, despises me? So grieved she, and expressed the rage of hate that such dissent inspired, beseeching thus, no longer should the house of Cadmus stand, so that the sister Furies plunge in crime overweening Athamas. Entreating them, she mingled promises with her commands. When Juno ended speech, Tisiphone, whose locks entangled are not ever smooth, tossed them around, that backward from her face such crawling snakes were thrown. Then answered she, "Since what thy will decrees may well be done, why need we to consult with many words? Leave thou this hateful region, and convey thyself contented to a better realm." Rejoicing, Juno hastens to the clouds. Before she enters her celestial home, Iris, the child of Thalmus, purifies her limbs in sprinkled water. Waiting not, Tisiphone, revengeful, takes a torch, besmeared with blood and vested in a robe dripping with crimson gore and twisting snakes engirdled, she departs her dire abode, with twitching madness, terror, fear, and woe. And when she had arrived the destined house, the doorposts shrank from her, the maple doors turned ashen grey, the sun, amazed, fled. Affrighted, Athamas and Ino viewed and fled these prodigies. But suddenly that baneful fury stood across the way, blocking the passage. There she stands, with arms extended and alive with twisting vipers. She shakes her hair, the moving serpents hiss, they cling upon her shoulders, and they glide around her temples, dart their fangs, and vomit corruption. Plucking from the midst two snakes, she hurls them with her pestilential hand upon her victims, Athamas and Ino, whom, although the vipers strike upon their breasts, no injury attacks their mortal parts, only their minds are stricken with wild rage, inciting to mad violence and crime. And with a monstrous composite of foam, once gathered from the mouth of Cerberus, the venom of Echidna, purposeless aberrances, crimes, tears, hatred, the lust of homicide, and the dark vaporings of foolish brains, a liquid poison mixed and mingled with fresh blood in hollow brass, and boiled and stirred up with a slip of hemlock. She took of it, and as they trembled, threw that mad-mixed poison on them, and it scorched their inmost vitals, and she waved her torch repeatedly within a circle's rim, and added flame to flame. Then, confident of having executed her commands, the Fury hastened to the void expanse where Pluto reigns, and swiftly put aside the serpents that were wreathed around her robes. At once the son of Aeolus, enraged, shouts loudly in his palace, "Ho, my lads! Spread out your nets! A savage lioness and her twin whelps are lurking in the wood. Behold them!" In his madness he believes his wife a savage beast. He follows her, and quickly from her bosom snatches up her smiling babe Learchus, holding forth his tiny arms, and whirls him in the air, times twice and thrice, as whirls the whizzing sling, and dashes him in pieces on the rocks, cracking his infant bones. The mother, roused to frenzy, who can tell if grief the cause, or fires of scattered poison, yells aloud, and with her torn hair tangled, running mad, she carries swiftly in her clutching arms her little Melicerta, and begins to shout, "Evoe, Bacchae!" Juno hears the shouted name of Bacchus, and she laughs and taunts her, "Let thy foster child award." There is a crag, out-jutting on the deep, worn hollow at the base by many waves, where not the rain may ripple on that pool. High up the rugged summit overhangs its ragged brows above the open sea. There Ino climbs with frenzy-given strength, and fearless, with her burden in her arms, leaps in the waves where whitening foams arise. Venus takes pity on her guiltless child, unfortunate granddaughter, and begins to soothe her uncle Neptune with these words: "O Neptune, ruler of the deep, to whom, next to the power in heaven, was given sway, consider my request. Open thy heart to my descendants, which thine eyes behold tossed on the wild Ionian sea. I do implore thee, remember they are thy true deities, are thine as well as mine, for it is known my birth was from the white foam of thy sea, a truth made certain by my Grecian name." Neptune regards her prayer. He takes from them their mortal dross. He clothes in majesty and hallows their appearance. Even their names and forms are altered. Melicerta, changed, is now Palaemon called, and Ino, changed, Leucothoe called, are known as deities. When her Sidonian attendants traced fresh footprints to the last verge of the rock and found no further vestige, they declared her dead, nor had they any doubt of it. They tore their garments and their hair, and wailed the house of Cadmus, and they cursed at Juno for the sad fate of the wretched concubine. That goddess could no longer brook their words, and thus made answer, "I will make of you eternal monuments of my revenge." Her words were instantly confirmed. The one whose love for Ino was the greatest cried, "Into the deep! Look, look, I seek my queen!" But even as she tried to leap, she stood fast-rooted to the ever-living rock. Another, as she tried to beat her breast with blows repeated, noticed that her arms grew stiff and hard. Another, as by chance, was petrified with hands stretched over the waves. Another could be seen, as suddenly her fingers hardened, clutching at her hair to tear it from the roots. And each remained forever in the posture first assumed. But others of those women, sprung from Cadmus, were changed to birds, that always with wide wings skim lightly the dark surface of that sea. Unwitting that his daughter and his son are ocean deities, Agenor's son, depressed by sorrow and unnumbered woes, calamities, and prodigies untold, the founder fled the city he had built, as though fatalities that gathered round that city grieved him deeper than the fate of his own